Turkey could go to war with Greek Cyprus. And I think that's what's going to happen in the future, is that they're going to hit the Greeks in Cyprus, and they're going to hit Greece itself. There's going to be a war. So it looks like another North African crisis is preceding another world war, the crisis in Libya. Cyprus. Very interesting. Hezbollah has threatened Cyprus because Hezbollah is at war with Israel, and Cyprus has an alliance, military alliance, energy alliance with Israel. Both Cyprus and Israel are in the Mediterranean where there is natural gas. And so the Israelis and the Cypriots, alongside the Greeks, and the Egyptians actually, have made an agreement that they would respect each other's maritime territories where there is natural gas. And overall, they would respect each other's maritime territories because there's a lot of natural gas. And so they are harvesting the gas from the Eastern Mediterranean. So they made an agreement that they would respect each other's zones. The Turks, on the other hand, they're not really respecting the maritime integrity of Greece, and they're not really respecting Cyprus either. Cyprus is an alliance with Israel, and this is angering those who are against Israel. And so you have, for example, the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, stating that Cyprus better watch out. And he's threatening Cyprus. And I found this very interesting because Cyprus and Turkey have a long history of violence, because half of Cyprus is inhabited by Turks. Half of Cyprus is inhabited by Turks. So Turkey has a huge interest in Cyprus. Half of the island consists of ethnic Turks. And there was a war in Cyprus. There was a war going on in Cyprus. And so to settle the war, they just said, okay, half of Cyprus is basically Turkey. The other half is Greece, or Greek. And the Greek part of Cyprus is friendly with Israel. And Hezbollah has threatened Cyprus because of this. Now, I'm not saying that Hezbollah is going to attack Cyprus, but what I am saying is that Turkey could go to war with Greek Cyprus. And I think that's what's going to happen in the future, is that they're going to hit the Greeks in Cyprus, and they're going to hit Greece itself. There's going to be a war, a conflict in the future. And it's very interesting. I was reading about the relation between Cyprus and Israel, but also the relation between France and Turkey, because Cyprus and France do have a relation, and the French are in tensions with Turkey, and they've had tensions for a long time. So I want to read to you guys a little bit of this article here. This is from the Australian/Israel and Jewish Affairs Council, and they put out an article about Turkey and the Mediterranean. It's very interesting stuff. An overlapping series of alliances and partnerships in the Eastern Mediterranean are beginning to coalesce in response to Turkey's provocative activities in the region. So there's natural gas in the Eastern Mediterranean. Turkey wants in on that. But Israel, Egypt, Cyprus, and Greece doesn't like that, so they formed an energy alliance, and they're saying, here is our shared maritime territory in which we will harvest natural gas. And they formed this alliance really as a way to show Turkey that they don't want any sort of Turkish activities as far as taking gas goes, or as far as military activity goes, within their maritime territory. So it says here that the building blocks for this countervailing coalition have been developing for quite some time around the major headlines, outside of major headlines. But the process has dramatically sped up since 2019 in response to Turkey's growing military power and assertiveness against Western energy and security interests. Israel is both playing a significant part in this new coalition as well as building important new regional ties as a result. The United States, which has been strongly backing the formation of energy and security ties between regional states, has been rhetorically circumspect and even denied any of the moves are aimed at Turkey. So Israel, Greece, Cyprus, they say, okay, here's our maritime zone in which we're going to get our natural gas. Stay out of it, Turkey. America comes out and says, oh, we support this energy coalition between the Israelis and the Greeks and the Egyptians and the Cypriots. But it has nothing to do with Turkey. We're not against Turkey. We just support this alliance, which was put together as a way to counter Turkey. But we're not against Turkey. You see, America is trying to play both sides here and is trying to keep diplomacy between the different sides, the opposing sides. So it says here, and this is very interesting. The United States, which has been strongly backing the formation, yet the outcome, all the same, appears to be a long-term U.S.-backed coalition to contain Turkey economically and militarily. So they want to contain Turkey militarily in the Eastern Mediterranean, and that's why they formed this alliance. At the center of this coalition are Cyprus and Greece, and their relationships with the U.S., Israel, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates, as well as with the European powers, particularly France. So let's talk about this. This is what I found in the article to be very interesting. Particularly France. So what does that mean? The French have a history against Turkey. They do. They have a history of it. It's not that long, but nonetheless, within modern times, the tension has been there. So, for example, during the Armenian genocide, the French rescued a lot of Armenians from being butchered by the Ottomans. Well, that was something that was against the Ottomans, and they saved a lot of people's lives. So good for France. The French aren't that bad. Another thing also is France's history in North Africa. France has a history of colonization in North Africa. Libya, Algeria, Morocco. And they want to control North Africa. They want to have their geopolitical looming presence in North Africa. France is still very concerned over its former colonies. For example, when Lebanon's economy crashed and its currency effectively became useless, and there was that huge blast that erupted in Lebanon, Macron went to Lebanon. He was the first major politician that went to Lebanon. Why? That was France eyeing its former colony. Same thing with Libya. The French have been involved in Libya. They have wanted. They have been in Libya for the purpose of taking gas, energy from Libya. So there's that. But Turkey is also very interested in Libya, and that's why during the Libyan civil war, the Turks supported the Government of National Accord, which was the faction that was it was the faction that got the most support in the world. It was backed by the United Nations, backed by the United States. And then there was the other faction, Libyan National Army. That's who they were fighting against. Yep. Khalifa Haftar. So you had on one side the Government of National Accord, and then on the other side you had the Libyan National Army. Most of the countries involved in the Libyan civil war were supporting the Government of National Accord. So most of the countries involved in the Libyan civil war were supporting the GNA, the Government of National Accord. Russia was supporting the Libyan National Army, the LNA. Turkey was supporting the GNA, the Government of National Accord. France was supporting Haftar. France was supporting the Libyan National Army. Now, you have to ask yourself why that is. Because Turkey was backing the GNA, the Government of National Accord. And Turkey wants to control Libya. France also wants to have its foothold into Libya, but France is not very friendly with Turkey. And the French supported the proxy that was going against the proxy that was backed by the Turks. So the Turks want to control Libya, but that goes counter to the aspirations of the French. which want to have a presence in Libya, in North Africa. There is something of a history of this. It's very fascinating. Back in the early 1910s, I want to say this was in 1911 or 1912, there was the Morocco affair that took place, the Moroccan crisis of 1911, or the Agadir crisis. The French wanted control over Morocco, and so the French incited riots in Morocco. And that forced the government in Morocco to ask for French intervention, which the French happily obliged. So the French sent their army into Morocco, and they weren't going anywhere. Well, the Germans began to push for the French to leave, and the French were refusing. So you had Bismarck. Bismarck was trying to push the French to leave Morocco. And what Bismarck did was he said that he is basically the biggest supporter of the Ummah, and he would be a friend of the Islamic world. And why was Bismarck trying to do that? Because Bismarck also wanted to have a German presence in North Africa to counter the French. And eventually what happened was the Germans came to North Africa with a big boat. And they said, you see how strong we are? We support the Muslim world. Now, you also have to factor in this situation, the fact that the Germans were allies with the Ottoman Empire. One of the first things that Germany did when it formed itself as an official country was make an alliance with the Ottoman Empire. So here you had the French wanting to control North Africa, wanting to control Morocco. The Germans, in an alliance with the Ottomans, were trying to push the French out of North Africa. Well, today, what do you have? You have the Turks wanting to control North Africa, the French also wanting to control North Africa, and then you have the Germans who are in alliance with the Turks. So it's almost like it really is history rhyming. You see a situation happening today that's kind of similar to what happened in 1911. The French and the Turks are doing a power play over North Africa. But right now, they're vying over territory. They're doing this looming power play over North Africa, kind of like what happened in 1911. And 1911, the Moroccan crisis of 1911, was something that preceded the First World War. So it looks like another North African crisis is preceding another world war. The crisis in Libya is something that is preceding the next world war. And not only that, it's presaging the next world war, because you have Turks, French, Italians. They've all been getting involved in North Africa, in Italy, in Libya, over natural resources. And the Russians have been involved in Libya as well. They were supporting Haftar against the government of national accord. So it was a proxy war between the Turks and the Russians, and ultimately between NATO and the Russians. But the French were not supporting the government of national accord, the GNA. They weren't, because the French have their own interests. They have their own colonial interests involved. It's very, very fascinating. And so you have this power play. Cyprus is close to the French. The French don't like the Turks. The Turks want to control Cyprus. And eventually, this is all going to lead to a giant bloodbath. You have, on top of this, the Greeks. And the Greeks and the Turks are vying over the Mediterranean. They're vying over the Eastern Mediterranean. And then you have the Russians. And the Russians are playing diplomacy with the Turks because the Turks control the access into the Mediterranean, which the Russians want to maintain because they have a military presence in Syria. So how is this all going to end? It's not going to end well. None of this is going to end well. And in the middle of it all, you have Israel. Israel is allies with Cyprus, Greek Cyprus, that is. The Turks don't like the Israelis. They don't like the Greek Cypriots. And also the Turks in Cyprus, they have been encroaching upon the Greek part of Cyprus as well. This is something that's been going on for a while now. They have been encroaching upon the Greek part of Cyprus. And it's all just a way to test the waters. It's all a way to encroach themselves upon the Greeks. and the Greek Cypriots are friendly with Israel. So it looks like the Turks are going to hit the Greek Cypriots.